The Secret Service has depleted its funds necessary to pay at least a portion of its agents. 1/3 of its agents have already hit the cap for hours and overtime, which means that some of them might have to work for free unless the Congress does something to allocate more funding for the Secret Service. Now, a lot of this has to do with the fact that last year was a tumultuous one, to say the least, which required a great deal of Secret Service to get involved to protect presidential candidates and be involved in the political conventions that took place. But Donald Trump's administration is also not making things easy when you consider the fact that he's constantly traveling for pleasure, and also he has a gigantic family, which also requires Secret Service. Now, agents must protect Trump, who has traveled almost every weekend to his properties in Florida, New Jersey, and Virginia, and his adult children, whose business trips and vacations have taken them across the country and overseas. Now, the part of this that is frustrating, to say the least, is his sons, who are constantly traveling to other countries for Trump-related business, also get Secret Service. And so taxpayers are footing the bill for that, and that's not related to work for our country or for the government. It's solely based on work that they're doing for their own personal businesses. More than 1,000 agents have already hit the federally mandated caps for salary and overtime allowances that were meant to last the entire year. Since his inauguration, Trump has taken 7 trips to his estate in Mar-a-Lago, traveled to his Bedminster, New Jersey golf club 5 times, and returned to Trump Tower in Manhattan once. Now, I have more details for you, but just to give you an idea of how much all of this costs, take a look at the following video.
The repeated visits to his golf club in New Jersey, round-the-clock security for the First Lady and their son inside Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan until recently. Tonight, there's more scrutiny on the strain of those operations for the men and women who protect President Trump and his extended family.
They are now working overtime hours they are not getting paid for.
Today, Secret Service Director Randolph said about 1,100 agency employees will work overtime hours this year.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, under Donald Trump, 42 people have protection, a number that includes 18 members of his family. That's up from 31 during the Obama administration.
Okay, so there's things that they can't do anything about and things that they can. So you can't do anything about the fact there's 42 people in your family. His wife and his son stayed behind in New York until June so he can finish the school year there. Some have criticized that because that involves a whole nother security apparatus at Trump Tower in New York, and it's perpetual, whereas you could have one apparatus in Washington. Okay, but I think that it could be argued that that's nitpicking. The one thing that he could definitely control is how much he goes to
golfing,
vacations / outings at his own places, which he's using mainly for advertising.
That's right.
So not only does he keep talking about his winter White House, or in a reference to Mar-a-Lago, and now he's got a summer White House. These are all giant ads, multi-million-dollar ads for his properties. And he even had the temerity after the Charlottesville press conference, which was an absolute disaster, where he blamed the counter-protesters as well, to then plug his properties in Virginia, which he also goes to. The man has no bounds of decency or morality. And here's a guy who criticized Obama's vacations, immediately taking far more vacations. He's in the middle of a giant 17-day vacation now. After taking so much heat for it, they changed it to, and now it drives me crazy when the press dutifully reports it as such. It's now a working vacation.
Right.
Sure it is. Okay, and so that he can help, but he's not. And so that's, if you're a conservative and you cared about our taxpayer dollars, I mean, they're throwing them away in bushels here. And by the way, can you stay at the White House one goddamn weekend and do your job? You're the president, it's not an easy job. You have to be, yes, you have to be vigilant 24/7, and he's nowhere near that vigilant.
Right, I mean, it's interesting because he'll brag about donating $100,000 to the Department of Education, $100,000 from his presidential salary, while he also simultaneously cuts millions of dollars or proposes to cut millions of dollars from the department. But here's the thing, how about you keep your salary and just travel less? especially when it's travel that's completely unnecessary and you're specifically doing it to advertise your businesses. And also, I mean, think about how frustrating it is to have to pay for his sons to travel to other countries for their businesses. And I get it. Look, it's a tough situation because even though it's frustrating, they also need security. I could understand why they would need security, but there could be ways to save money here, and he seems completely unwilling to do it. Also, let me give you an idea of what's being proposed in terms of allocation of additional funding. So there is a proposal to raise the combined salary and overtime cap for agents from $160,000 per year to $187,000 for at least the duration of Trump's first term. Also, last year, Congress did have to approve a one-time fix to ensure that 1,400 agents would be compensated for thousands of hours of overtime earned above compensation limits. So this is an ongoing issue, and again, it's only made worse with all the travel involved with Trump and his family.
There's also the personal enrichment angle. Now, other Republicans have spent $1.3 million on Trump properties. Sometimes just to stay in Washington or to do conferences in Washington at his hotel. But part of the reason they do it is to make him happy. So, he gets personally enriched and then he then has more favors for the people who stayed at his properties. And finally, to give you a sense of how much money is involved here, the Secret Service has already spent $60,000 in golf cart rentals alone this year on his properties. Now, if you really cared about the American taxpayers, you could say, hey, you know what? The golf carts you're using to protect me while I go nonstop golfing at my own property, I'm not gonna charge the American government for that. But no, he loves to charge the American government for that. Every one of his outings to Mar-a-Lago has cost at least $3 million. So to Anna's point, when he brags about, I'm not even taking my salary, which is, I think for the entirety of the year is about $400,000. Yeah, but you've spent almost 10 times that every single time you go to Mar-a-Lago, and you've gone there 7 times already. So please spare me the bragging about how you're not taking a salary, because you're wasting a ton of our money and running our Secret Service into the ground while you're at it. If you like the Young Turks, you'll love Young Turks membership. TYTnetwork.com/join.